Attention all home buyers and owners interested in learning about small hobby farms and hurdles you may experience when looking for a property with a few acres or farm zoning. Hi, I'm Megan Proper, and in this part 3 educational mortgage series with Michael Mullis from The Mortgage Teacher, we are going to dive into farmland and mortgage advice from an industry professional.
Yeah. I will give up one point when we're talking about different properties and different mortgages, because let's just be honest. Let's talk to your listeners a little bit. Mm-hmm. Farmland. People with acreage, right? What a lot of people don't understand is what's really, you said the word trending and hip. What's happening is hobby farms. This is a hot trend because of the way the world's going and food and that. People, I want a chicken coop. I want my own farm set up. Now, I want you to understand, why is it so difficult to get a house with acreage? And I'm going to explain that. So it's a little bit of a minute, but I think this is good, informative.
Go ahead. It's great information.
So what people don't understand is farmers get so upset that they can't get a mortgage easy, because a farmer looks at like, look how rich I am. I have a $3 million farm or $2 million farm. I have 50 acres. This is gold. And I agree with that. Land is always gold. I've grown up with that line forever. Mm-hmm. But I've also learned that banks don't like to lend to it at all. So therefore, a rich farmer gets stuck with money in the walls, not in the halls. They can't use the money to go and buy things. So that's why Farm Credit Union exists. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to go there. Now, the reason that the banks won't do it, and you can play this to anyone that needs to hear this, because the Farm Act overrules the Bank Act. Let me explain what I mean by that. The Bank Act is quite simple. You take a mortgage, you don't make payments, the bank takes over your property, they now own it, and they can sell it. But if you create income on that land, it's not that easy for them to take over. They can't, because if you create income on your land, it's involving many other people. Mm-hmm. And the bank can't foreclose on a farm property like they can a normal property, okay? And that's why that it's such a tough thing to go into Scotia or TD and get a mortgage against your farm. That's why farmers get so aggravated with it. The only time you can is if it's about a house. So say you have 50 acres with a shop with heated floors and indoor golf and 5 4-wheelers and a trip, whatever. Outbuildings don't count. So this might be worth $2 million to you, but in the mortgage world, you will only get a mortgage because you, as a consumer, listening, you would want a residential rate. You want the best rates you see advertised at. We'll just pick on Scotiabank because I've said their name 3 times. Okay, but for example, and they do like agricultural properties more than other lenders. All lenders have different niches. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they do look at that, but they might only lend on whatever the house is appraised at. And if a garage is attached to it, not the shop and not the land, just 5 acres. So say it would sell for $3 million in your world, Megan, mm-hmm. but the appraisal might only be 1.5 and the bank will only lend up to $1 million. Therefore, not the whole 3. And that's what we run into with the bank world. Now, where this gets a little gray area, and this is to help your younger buyers, your hip buyers, the hobby farm. Now you got a house with like either 5 acres or anything, but I'll just give you a tip. You don't want to show workable. You don't want to show what's worked. You could have 40 acres, and if 1 acre has worked, now you're jumping into that Farm Act, and no one's going to want to put a mortgage on it because it's a drive income. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, like this time of year right now, when the fields aren't working, there's where you can buy your acreage, and it's not workable. There's a bit of, not quite a loophole, but something that it's not worked right now. Otherwise, right? I've had some deals that even if in your taxes you live on the house and you want to do a refinance within to maybe buy something, okay? Even then, you don't want to show that it's workable on your taxes. If you're writing off feed and all this stuff, you're showing it's workable, right? So that's another thing that's trending right now is hobby farms. You don't go into a purchase saying, okay, this is an amazing deal. It has a chicken coop. It has a barn. I'm going to get 2 cows, 4 horses. Don't sell that pitch. Just go in and say, I'm just going to make my family a nice little family home. And then after, you can do as you like on it.
Yeah. No, it's good information. Like, I mean, we get a general knowledge, through ours and then through our education and then actually working in the field. But it is good for people to know from your side, like what they're going to come up, because they're going to be like, oh, I'm pre-approved for this, but it doesn't mean that it pertains to that, zoning or exactly what you just said. So
Very good point. Because up in that area, and you can help me because you drive around a lot more. Do you find that a house with acreage or land, things like that, sit for sale a lot longer than a house in a subdivision, for example?
I wouldn't say lately, because everyone was moving from the city, wanted exactly what you just said, a couple acres. Like I think just being so consumed in the last 2 years, people are like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. So it was really, really competitive because it's something, as a goal, I grew up on a farm. So it is something that I wish to get back to have a couple acres, to have exactly kind of what you said. But, I've just sat back being like, you know what, I'm good with my little mortgage at this point. But it just drove farmland up. But, when you get into the big farms, of course, that's different. But people that just want that little bit, or even the typical zoning that you could have, like an AG1, allowing to have something like that. Yeah, it was really popular. But at the same time, I also live in Huron County where people are looking to retire. So that's something that, was popular as well. So yeah, but small hobby farm was definitely on fire last year for sure.
When we talked about that land and hobby farms and that, what happens, and the reason it was booming is because people were selling in Toronto and they had so much more money to put down on the place. But now that's all losing it because values are coming down. So all of a sudden people are like, well, now I want to buy the farm, but I want a mortgage for 80%. Like, no, you can't get it. So, yeah. Right? So, but another segue into that is kind of like if the appraisal comes back short, which is very similar to someone that has all this land to buy, but can only really get a mortgage on this portion. Kind of like, here's what the house was worth. I bought it for, but now the appraisal came back less.
Yeah.
There may not, what will happen is just be wary as a buyer. There are all those opportunities that people are now coming in $20,000 and $30,000 less with an offer.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You're right. There might be an appraisal lower. Mm-hmm. If somebody sells one, like we use that as, I'm just talking in general, but that we use that as a condo downtown example that used to go for 9. Now they're going for 7. As soon as some start going for 7, that next person doing an appraisal, well, here's what showed up lately. And then what happens, unfortunately, is the person has to find a way to put the difference down.
Yes. Well, and that's exactly, it was one of my questions, trying to make buyers understand you're pre-approved for this, but that doesn't mean that you're getting that much money. Right. So, and especially when we send in appraisers, what happens if my appraisal comes back short, or basically your pre-approval versus what the bank's actually going to lend you and how those correlate, because that's a big thing. People with me go into discussing, I'm pre-approved though, Megan, like I can go to 400,000 on my offer. And I was like, well, I don't think that it's going to get appraised at that for a 2-bedroom, half bath. Like, and then you guys got 50,000 to come up with the difference, right? And they go, well, what do you mean? I'm pre-approved. So next on the series, we talk about pre-educating you around your finances. What does that mean? Well, tune in and learn a tip or two with Michael Mullis and myself. If you're looking for more information on talking to a mortgage broker, you can find the mortgage teacher and my contact information below. Talk to you soon.